Hi, I am Maria Princess Diane El Calot from BSTM 3B, and today I am going to discuss the definition of tourism impact, dimensions of tourism impact, determinants of tourism impacts, and lastly, the level of development of the tourism industry. So, first is the definition of tourism impact. So, tourism impact basically means the changes that happen in a place because of tourism. So, these changes can come from tourist behavior, government policies, or even new infrastructures. Impacts can be positive or negative, and they affect the economy, society, culture, and even politics. For example, is when a small town suddenly becomes a popular tourist spot, you'll see changes in how locals live, how business run, and even how the environment is treated. So next is the dimensions of tourism impact. So economically, tourism creates jobs and income, but it can also push prices up and cause money to leak out of the local economy when goods and services are imported. Uh, a good side is when locals open homestays or food stalls, but a downside is when a big companies takes most of those earnings. And environmentally, tourism can lead better transport and connectivity, but also to pollution and overuse of resources. Think of airport being expanded for travelers, but also beaches filling up with trash. And socially, tourism brings opportunities like cultural exchange, but it also may cause problems like crime or overcrowding. Some of communities enjoy meeting people from different countries, while others get stressed by traffic and the noise. And culturally, it spreads food, sports, and traditions, but sometimes it weakens local practices. For example, is tourists might love traditional dances, but if they're performed only to entertain, their real meaning may fade. And politically, areas that earn more from tourism often get more government support, like funding for infrastructure projects. So, the dimensions of impact are really a mix of gains and challenges. These impacts can also be direct or indirect, short term or long term, and reversible or irreversible. For example, trash after festival is reversible, but coral reefs damaged by divers takes generations to heal. People's view on impacts also differ. Business owners might see more tourists as profit, while residents may just notice traffic and noise. And over time, locals can shift from excited about tourism to annoyed if the negatives outweigh the positives. Next is the determinants of tourism impacts. Mm, Now, there are also determinants or factors that influence how strong or weak these impacts are, how long they last, and who they affect. So, these include the level of economic development of the destination, uh, tourism policies and laws, carrying capacity, tourist volume, and the kinds of markets served. For instance, if a place is still developing, it might struggle to handle large numbers of tourists. So, it leads to overcrowding or strain on resources. On the other hand, a destination with good policies and clear laws can better balance the benefits and reduce negative impacts. And tourist behavior can also play a role. Responsible travelers contribute positively, while careless ones can leave behind damage. And last is the level of development of the tourism industry. A key determinant is the level of development of the tourism industry itself. The more developed it is, the more benefits a destination can gain. The World Economic Forum has something called the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Index, which measures factors like safety, infrastructure, environment, and cultural resources. High scores often mean more tourists, but not always, since some places are popular even without ranking high. And another guide is the 10 A's framework by Cruz. So the 10 A's are access, accommodation, activities, attractions, amenities, atmosphere, attitude, administration, assistance, and lastly, awareness. So for example, um, access isn't just about transportation, it's also political. Even though North and South Korea are neighbors, travel between them is restricted because of conflict. Atmosphere is about how safe and welcoming a destination feels, while attitude refers to how open locals are to tourists. Administration is about how well tourism is managed. Assistance is the support given to tourists, and awareness is about promotion and marketing. All of this show how ready and competitive a destination is in welcoming the visitors. And when a place is fully prepared, tourism can truly become sustainable and beneficial not only for tourists but for the local community and environment as well. And that's all for my part. Thank you for listening, everyone.
So, hello everyone, my name is Joyce Ansals from the STMPB, and I'm here to discuss my part, the strength of the economy and linkages. So, the strength of an economy in tourism refers to how well tourism contributes to a country's or region's economic health. Linkages in tourism mean the connection tourism has with other parts of the economy and how it interacts with local communities, businesses, and other sectors. Let's proceed now to my next topic, stakeholders, power, and capacity. So, stakeholders in tourism are individuals or groups with an interest or involvement in tourism activities. Their power refers to their ability to influence decisions or outcomes in tourism. Capacity refers to their abilities, resources, or skills to contribute to sustainable tourism. So now we have aspects of stakeholder power and capacity. First one is influence and decision making. Some stakeholders have more power to shape tourism, policies, or practices. Next one is resources and capabilities. So stakeholders' capacity can include financial resources, knowledge, or local expertise. The third one is collaboration and partnerships. So working together can enhance sustainable tourism outcomes. The last one is interests and goals. So different stakeholders may have varying interests in tourism development. So the meaning of this statement, it suggests that in many development projects or initiatives like those in tourism, more powerful stakeholders or those with more influence, resources, or control often gain most of the benefits. Meanwhile, weaker stakeholders or those with less power, often local communities or marginalized groups, tend to bear more of the cost or negative impacts. We're here in Social Representation Theory, or SRT. As discussed by Gianna Moscardo in 2011, it's a framework that helps understand how communities construct and share meanings about complex social phenomena like tourism. Originally developed by Serge Moscovici in 1961, SRT explores how groups create shared understandings and interpretations of social objects or concepts. Discrimination broadly refers to any environmental policy or practice that disadvantages or marginalized group, while environmental racism is a specific form of environmental discrimination rooted in racial bias. policy is essentially a framework of rules, regulations, guidelines, and strategies that guide tourism development and promotion, aiming for sustainable growth. Importance of tourism policy. The effective tourism policies help manage tourism growth sustainably, ensuring benefits for local communities, protecting environments, and enhancing visitor experiences. Let us proceed to investment incentives, criteria, and needs. The main purpose of TES or tourism enterprise zones is to promote and develop tourism in specific designated areas, often aiming to boost economic growth, create jobs, and encourage investment in tourism-related activities. The vision is to be recognized tourism development agency contributing to inclusive and sustainable economic growth in the Philippines. According to TES, the tourism enterprises, the major evaluation criteria for TES and their corresponding ways are ecological and physical design consideration, we have 25%. This criterion likely assess how well a tourism enterprise zone or tourism project incorporates environmental sustainability and responsible physical design. Economic consideration 20%. This criterion evaluates the economic aspects and benefits of a tourism enterprise zone or tourism project. The next one is competitive and long-term financial sustainability, and we have 20%. This one is cultural consideration, and we have 20%. The next one is community and stakeholder acceptability, and also we have 15%. This criterion assesses the acceptance and support of the local community and relevant stakeholders for a tourism enterprise zone. Major categories of TES and its purpose. Cultural Heritage Tourism Zone. It is designated area focusing on showcasing and promoting tourism related to the cultural heritage of a place. Next zone is Health and Wellness Tourism Zone. It is a designated area focusing on tourism activities centered around health, wellness, and medical services. The third one is Ecotourism Zone. It is designated area focusing on nature-based tourism that emphasizes conservation, sustainability, and responsible travel to natural areas. General Leisure Tourism Zones is a designated area developed to cater to tourists seeking relaxations, recreations, and enjoyment through various leisure activities. It's designated area that combines multiple tourism-related functions and land uses within a defined space. Now to my last topic, tourism volume, density, or ratio. In tourism volume, it refers to the quantity or number of tourists visiting a particular destination, attraction, or area over a specific period. It is a measure of the scale of tourism activity. Next is tourism density. It refers to the concentrations or intensity of tourists in a given area or destination, often expressed in terms of number of tourists relative to the local population, area size, or other metrics. Can refer to various measures comparing aspect of tourism to other factors like population, economic indicators, or area characteristics.
I'm Ron Sanyalata and I'm going to tackle the distribution of tourist zones, tourist market serves, technology, carrying capacity, and other factors. So first we have distribution of tourist zone. This refers to show different tourist destinations are arranged and spread across uh, a country or region. The distribution of zones often depends on natural attractions such as beaches, mountains, or forests. It also depends on cultural and historical sites and urban developments. So, the way zones are organized can significantly influence travel patterns, accessibility, and infrastructure planning. For instance, having multiple attractions concentrated in one city can stimulate urban growth, but also cause congestion and environmental stress. On the other hand, promoting balanced distribution of zones across rural or lesser known regions can spread economic opportunities, reduce tourism pressure in overcrowded areas, and encourage regional development. Yeah, government and tourism planners often use strategies to create circuits or what do you call that cluster that encourage tourists to explore more than one area during their visit. So next we have tourist market serve. This refers to the groups of travelers that each destinations specifically caters to, uh, which can vary based on demographics, interests, or geographic origins. For example, in domestic tourists, they may travel for affordability and culture familiarity, while international visitors often seek unique experience and adventure. So, tourism planners may also focus on niche markets such as ecotourism who value sustainability, cultural travelers who seek heritage immersion, or uh, luxury tourists looking for a high-end resorts, or it can be the backpackers who prefer budget-friendly and authentic local experience. So, understanding the needs of these markets helps destinations design proper infrastructure, offer uh, tailored packages, and promote the right image through marketing campaign. For example, a destination focus on family tourism would develop child-friendly amenities, or uh, while a destination targeting adventure tourists would invest in outdoor activities and safety measurements. So according to the book, Cohen's 1972 differentiate the institutionalized from non-institutionalized. So Cohen 1972, or tourist typology, uh, based on Cohen, he distinguished between institutionalized and non-institutionalized tourists based on how structured their travel is. So, institutionalized tourists rely on organized systems such as package tours, guided trips, and standard facilities like hotels and resorts. They value comfort, safety, and predictability. And while non-institutionalized tourists are more independent and adventurous, such as explorers and drifters, they seek authentic experience, prepare local interactions, and avoid mass tourism structures. So this typology highlights the contrast between mainstream structured travel and independent. Also, the experience driven tourism, showing how different motivations shape tourist behavior. Next, we have technology. So, tourism impact, especially on environment, may be modified by technology. So, technology plays a vital role in shaping the future of the tourism industry. not only by enhancing convenience but also by promoting efficiency and sustainability. The technology is not only the social media or the platforms or anything like online booking, something like that. So, one of the most significant technological advances is the aircraft innovation. Modern airplanes are designed which better fuel efficiency, quieter engines, and improve safety features, making long distance travel faster and safer, and more environmentally friendly. Uh, some aircraft or some airlines are even even exploring electric and hybrid aircraft to reduce carbon emissions and meet global sustainability goals. Other important advancement in the use of solar panels and renewable energy technologies in tourism facilities such as resorts and eco-launch, uh, airports, or even transport terminals. By harnessing solar power, destination can lower electricity cost, reduce their carbon footprint, and promote eco-friendly tourism practices. For example, some beach resorts now run on solar-powered lighting system, while eco parks and campsites rely on solar energy for uh, operations operations, showcasing a commitment to sustainable tourism. Next, we have carrying capacity. So, carrying capacity refers to the maximum number of visitors a destination can accumulate without harming the environment, disrupting local communities, or reducing the quality of visitor experience. So Middleton and Hawkins, 1998, and Chamberlain, uh, 1997, cited in Masiani and Santoro, 2012. It defined that it that as the level of human activity an area can accommodate without deteriorating the resident community being adversely affected or the quality of visitors experience declining. It is often measured in terms of physical, ecological, and social and psychological limits. Exceeding this can lead to overcrowding, pollution, and cultural damage. To prevent this, destination use strategies such as visitors quotas, entrance fees, zoning, and sustainable practices, ensuring tourism remains beneficial and balanced. Lastly, we have the other factors. Uh, Aside from the main elements of tourism management, Ryan 2003 highlighted several broader social and historical forces that contributed to the development of tourism. First is the emergence of bureaucrats, which refers to the uh, growth of structured government systems and institutions that organize regulation. Uh, Also, infrastructure and public services. This administrative development helped standardize travel systems, create safer environment, and support tourism planning, making it easier for people to travel. Uh, Second, Ryan emphasized the rise of unlivable industrial cities, where rapid industrialization led to pollution, overcrowding, and poor living conditions. These challenges created a strong desires desire among people to escape from stressful urban environment and seek relief in leisure and travel. Tourism thus become an outlet for relaxation, health, and recreation away from the negative impacts of industrial life. So, lastly, mm, Ryan pointed to women's liberation as a major driving force for tourism growth, as women gained more freedom, education, and financial independence. They uh, they become active participants in travel and leisure activities. This is not only expanded the tourism market, but also it also diversified the types of tourism services and experience offered, from family oriented travel to wellness and cultural tourism. In summary, Ryan 2003 showed that tourism did not grow in isolation. It was influenced by political systems, social change, and the transformation of urban life. This factor shapes the motivations, opportunities, and structures that continue to define the modern tourism today.